Tonight, we step back into October 1989, the Bay Bridge Series, the A's versus the Giants. The A's entered Game 3 with a 2-0 lead in the World Series. Power and swagger defined the A's, and then the earth moved. The Loma Prieta earthquake halted the series for 11 days. When baseball returned to Candlestick Park, it carried something heavier than momentum. And tonight, we just don't revisit it, we measure it. This is Statcast the Past, Classic A's, Modern Metrics. And I want to tell you something honest. For years, I was an opponent of advanced metrics. WAR, OPS plus, win probability added. I pushed back on it. Not because I hated numbers, but because I didn't understand them. They felt like math replacing the feel of the game. And then I actually learned what they meant. I learned that WAR isn't some abstract formula. It's a way to measure total value. That OPS plus adjusts for era and ballpark, so you can fairly compare 1989 to today. That win probability swings show you the exact moment a championship tilted. That's why this show exists. There is nothing else quite like this. We are not rebroadcasting a game. We are re-examining it. This is a guided tour through baseball history with modern tools in hand. I'll be your tour guide, and here's what makes this different. Please make sure your screen is maximized, because throughout this show, you are going to see dynamic graphics layered into the action, breaking down the exact metrics being used, explaining what they mean in plain English, and showing you how they compare to today's stars like Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. When Ricky Henderson steps into the box, we will explain how his on-base dominance stacks up in today's analytical world. When a key swing shifts the game, we will show the win probability spike in real time. And inning by inning, the metrics will change. First inning, win probability movement. Middle innings, leverage index pressure. Late innings, clutch performance and situational run expectancy. Every inning introduces a different lens. So the story never stays static. The numbers evolve. Your understanding evolves. And here's the best part. By the end of this show, you won't just have rewatched Game 3 of the 1989 World Series. You will understand it in a way you never have before. I used to resist advanced metrics. Now I appreciate them because I finally understand what they truly reveal. And throughout this ride, you are going to learn something new every single inning. This is not nostalgia alone. This is perspective. This is baseball history measured differently. The A's returned to Candlestick with a chance to take complete control of a championship. The Giants were fighting for life in a city still steadying itself. Every pitch mattered. Tonight, we show you exactly how much. This is Statcast the Past, Classic A's, Modern Metrics. Let's go back to 1989 and measure October differently. Enjoy.
Goes to the mound for the Giants. And he was the starting pitcher in Game 1 of the World Series, which took place 13 nights ago at the Oakland Coliseum. Among the things that have happened while we were waiting for the series to resume is an entire change in both pitching rotations. In the original Game 3, a week ago Tuesday, it was going to be Don Robinson for San Francisco and Bob Welch for Oakland, and now we're back to the starters in Game 1. And the lineup for the A's with Ricky Henderson, Carney Lansford, and Jose Canseco hitting third. Mark McGuire, the cleanup hitter. Dave Henderson in center. Steinbach is the catcher. Tony Phillips at second. Walt Weiss, who homered in Game 1 off Garrelts at shortstop. And again, just to refresh you, we're in the National League Park, and that means no designated hitter. Dave Parker, the A's DH, played a big role in Games 1 and 2, but he is limited to pinch hitting duty here. The pitchers will hit. Mitchell, Butler, and Sheridan in the Giant outfield. Overfell at third. Williams at short. Thompson at second. Clark at first. Kennedy back to the plate. Garrelts is pitching. And because the Giants in those first 2 games of the World Series had only 9 hits, Roger Craig was going to make these changes anyway. In Game 3 a week ago Tuesday, with Overfell at third, Williams over to short, and Sheridan at right.
Ricky Henderson has been, throughout the postseason, dominating. Most valuable player in the American League Championship Series. He is 5 for 8. The entire San Francisco team with 9 hits among them. And Ricky Henderson has 5 as the leadoff batter for the Oakland Athletics.
And strangely, even though he is 5 for 8, he has been much quieter in the World Series than he was against Toronto, and he dominated. So here we go. Several days later, Game 3 of the World Series is underway with a strike. And you know that baseball is back when Henderson looks back at Voltaggio on the very first pitch of the game and questions the call.
The delay didn't change that, did it?
No. Breaking pitch away, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Henderson started the season with the Yankees, then came over in June and really sparked the A's. He gets fisted and grounds it to short. Matt Williams throws him out. So Garrelts, as he was unable to do, facing Henderson in Game 1, is able to keep him off the bases as he gets him to ground out to short, and Carney Lansford comes to the plate.
Hey, you saw how Williams just nursed the ball over to Clark at first. He's the youngest player in the World Series.
That's lined into center field for a base hit. So Lansford picks up his 3rd hit of the World Series, a 1-out single here in the first inning. Carney has good speed. He stole 37 bases this season, but he was not really a base-stealing threat in the first 2 games of the series because of a pulled hamstring.
All 3 of his hits have come in the first time at bat. That's his 3rd hit in the series, all during his first time at bat. But my point about Williams, he nursed that throw to first base. That's usually what happens until the players get the butterflies out.
Jose Canseco at the plate, takes inside, ball 1. Canseco, and it's been forgotten, working on a string right now. He is 0 for his last 23 in the last 2 World Series. The record is 31. He's chasing one Marv Owen, who got a lot of publicity. And everybody was scrambling for stories in the past couple of days. And again, it's up and in. 2-0, and Canseco, after taking 2 pitches inside, and of all things, Jose begins to go toward the mound. Some of the players exit the dugout, but it will stop right there, and La Russa comes out to talk to Voltaggio.
You know, that's just misdirected passion right there. I mean, there's no way that Scott Garrelts is throwing at Canseco under these, of all circumstances, under these circumstances. That is very close, however, and the book on Canseco is you've got to pitch him inside.
Well, you can see how close it is, and of course, Garrelts, who had some problems with his mechanical workings of his windup in the first game, having it again.
So the spirit of unbound love in this region, which had even extended to these 2 teams, at least as far as the teams are concerned, lasts about 3 minutes. The 2-0 pitch is on the inside corner, and the count is 2-1.
Now, you wondered if they were going to have any intensity, and you already see right there, especially a guy struggling. Don't mess with my head. It's hard to see. Twilight type of situation here in San Francisco.
Clark holding Lansford on at first. 1 out, first inning, no score, and 2-1 on Canseco. Breaking pitch into the hole, and that's a base hit. Lansford will stop at second as Mitchell gets it back in. So Jose snaps the string. He had not had a World Series hit since that grand slam home run in Game 1 against the Dodgers last year, forever forgotten because Gibson ended the game with a dramatic homer, and now a single here in the first inning.
A breaking ball that he did not get in a good location. A lot of times, as you look at Roger Craig, he's got to be a little concerned. He said he would go to the bullpen in a hurry tonight, down 2-0.
Mark McGwire swings late, and the count is 0-1. Well, Craig has to manage this game as if it's the last game of the season, in effect. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the World Series. Several, however, have come back from 0-2. And McGwire fouls it away, and the count is 0-2.
And so many times you learn from your mistakes. And Norm Cherry, Roger Craig, hoped that Scott Garrelts learned from the mistakes he made in Game 1. He did not pitch that badly. Did give up 5 runs, 4 of them earned. Only 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. But what he did do is have very bad pitch selection. Did not throw the proper pitches to the proper hitters.
Lansford at second, Canseco at first. 1 out. And the runners go as it's grounded to the hole. Williams up with it. One-handed throws to first for the out. The runners advance with Lansford now at third and Canseco at second. And again, it's Matt Williams who has been playing third for the Giants for the most part through the second half of the season. Was the third baseman through the playoffs into the first 2 games, who moves over to short and makes the play here.
Pretty exciting baseball with Mark McGwire hitting and running runners at first and second. A play that, as far as the big leagues are concerned, happened much more often this year than in past years. The first and second hit and run. You saw a lot more teams do it this year.
2 on, 2 out, and Dave Henderson, who is 0 for 6 in the World Series and hasn't hit the ball out of the infield, takes away ball 1. Now, Garrelts with first base open naturally can afford to be more careful with Henderson here, but he has Steinbach waiting on deck. In the air to right field and deep, and Sheridan goes back, and it's off the top of the fence, and in play, 2 runs will score, and Henderson has a double. Dave saying, wasn't it a home run? But the right field umpire, Paul Runke, was down the line and there to call it. Said it hit the top of the fence and bounces back, and it's 2-0 A's and almost 3-0.
And that's already more runs than Scott Garrelts averages here at Candlestick Park. 157. A little bit over a run and a half. As you look Sheridan go back, he's an outstanding defensive outfielder. Gets up, but just not high enough. The ball goes off the top of the fence. 2 extra umpires, one down the left field line, Paul Runke down the right field line. Makes this call a lot easier as you see it hit right on the top of the fence.
Now Steinbach pops it up in foul territory. Kennedy comes back, and there is a lot of room, but not enough there, and the count is 0-1.
We talked about a better offensive lineup, but you're also talking normally about a better defensive outfielder. Sheridan a lot better than Maldonado. Throws better range, charges the ball well.
And the reason Pat didn't have a chance to get back on that ball, the ball didn't have a lot of hang time. So Sheridan didn't have a chance to get back, set himself at the fence, and jump for the ball.
Pitch away in the count 1-1. He jumped high enough, but he didn't have it gauged correctly where it came down.
Right.
Breaking pitch away. Vertically, Sheridan was okay. Horizontally is where the problem existed. So it's 2-0 on a double by Henderson. The first time that Henderson has hit the ball out of the infield in the 3 games. Good breaking pitch. The count 2-2. A's in the World Series, winning game 1 back of Dave Stewart 5-0, winning game 2 by a score of 5-1. Steinbach hitting a 3-run homer in that one. It's grounded to third, scooped up by Oberkfell, and that's out in the first. But the A's get a couple to take the lead. After a half, Oakland 2 and San Francisco coming up. Candlestick Park in San Francisco in the twilight. Gorgeous day in the Bay Area. The A's scoring 2 runs in the top of the first, and now their ace going to the mound, Dave Stewart. 3 years in a row, he's won 20 or more, and in postseason, 2 victories against Toronto, 1 against San Francisco in game 1 of the World Series. And he will be facing the Giants tonight with a revamped lineup, a different one than he saw in game 1, in the sense that Oberkfell is in the lineup and Sheridan is in the lineup, and then Williams drops down to the number 6 spot from number 5. Brett Butler to lead off for the Giants. Butler, Robbie Thompson, and Will Clark in the bottom of the first. Brett 1 for 6 in the World Series, and the first pitch to the screen, 1-0. Pat Sheridan jumping high enough, but missing the drive off Henderson's bat, and it's 2-0. And the count is 2-0. Butler, Thompson, and Clark in the bottom of the first. Dave Stewart working for the first time since a week ago Saturday. Throws a strike in the count, 2-1.
And how they tried to get him ready for this game is to have a simulated game a week ago Thursday. That would have put him right on target for Tuesday's game.
Lifted to left field, and Henderson was playing him in that direction anyway and makes the catch. So Ricky takes care of Butler. Here's the Giants lineup again if you missed the pregame introductions. With Butler leading off, then Thompson and Clark. Mitchell is in the cleanup spot. Oberkfell in the lineup tonight, hitting 5th. Matt Williams, Terry Kennedy, Pat Sheridan 8, and Garrelts. Robbie Thompson, 241 during the regular season with 13 homers. And anything but the typical number 2 hitter, because he struck out 133 times during the regular year.
I think it's only fair to note that he did have some shoulder problems that bothered him the second half of the season. In fact, got a cortisone shot 2 days ago. Very gingerly taking both throwing and hitting practice yesterday.
1-2 the count. If anything, the Giants had more players benefiting from the delay than the A's. Clark with a knee and tonsillitis. Thompson, Mitchell's wrist, and Robbie Thompson gone on strikes. Here's the split forkball, your preference, and down goes Thompson.
Well, they call it a forkball in Oakland, split-fingered fastball in San Francisco. I tell you, 18 miles apart, pitch still does the difference. The same thing, just goes down. You can't pick up the spin. It's an off-speed pitch in some sort, a little bit slower than Stewart's 88 to 92 mile per hour fastball.
18 miles via the San Mateo Bridge. 8 miles if you're a bird. In the air, down the line, curling foul, and Lansford giving chase and sliding and unable to backhand it. As in Oakland, plenty of room here in foul territory. It tapers off down the line, and Carney comes up checking his wrist. Candlestick Park, a stadium that was built in the late 50s and opened in 1960. The Giants came west in 58, spent 2 seasons at Old Seal Stadium, then moved in here in 62, and this is the first World Series game they played here since 1962 as Clark swings and misses and the count is 0-2.
Yeah, Will said that basically the pattern that Stewart had with him, nobody on base, saw a lot of fastballs, somebody on base, split-fingered fastballs.
Still 0-2.
Excuse me, Al, but Timmy, you know, of course, you're a former hitter, 4 decades.
pitcher will change. I mean, that's part of the baseball. You have to change as a hitter. Stewart, of course, may change tonight. They both watched the films.
I don't know whether Stewart's inclined to change as much. He threw a shutout his last time up.
And one of the few people who did give him a problem that night was Clark with a single and a double. He had 2 of the 4 hits.
And the other time it popped up and lined out. So 3 out of 4 times. He had to be happy not with the result of the game, but his at-bats.
Yeah, remarkably, Dave Stewart winning 20 for the 3rd year in a row. His first shutout of the season this year.
And Clark gone on strikes. So after the A's get 2 in the top of the inning, the Giants are gone in order. End of 1 in game 3. Still a spectacular sight. Boy, you can only ponder. It's amazing. You look at it from the blimp. It's standing, folks. It sure is. There it is in all its regal splendor. The city of San Francisco. Cosmetically looking beautiful, as always. But, of course, we all know about the deep, deep scars. World Series, Game 3, 2nd inning. Tony Phillips, the batter, check swing foul at the plate, evening the count at 1-1. Phillips, Walt Weiss, and then Dave Stewart. Tony, switch hitter, and a most valuable Oakland A. It's such a high-profile team. He's one of those kind of lost in the publicity shuffle, but not in the mind of Tony La Russa. 2-1.
The only positions Phillips didn't play this year, he didn't catch, he didn't pitch, and he didn't play center field. But he played the other 6. Terrific athlete. Some think he is the best athlete, pure athlete, on the Oakland Ball Club.
2-2 the count. Spectacular sight. Looking north. Into your shot. For the moment came the Bay Bridge. As Phillips on a check swing foul rolls it off to the left, and the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Tell you, Al, as far as the Giants are concerned, it might be too nice a day today. One of the big reasons the Giants and Scott Garrell's 10-2 in this ballpark, Roger Craig's troops, one of the reasons that they had the best record in the National League was because most of the teams that come in here have to fight the elements.
Check swing, the appeal, and he's punched out at third by Gregg. Vic Voltaggio didn't call it a swinging strike. The ball was dropped by Kennedy. He made the tag, and then it's official when Gregg puts the big right arm up.
See Voltaggio not making the call. He checks with Eric Gregg, and Eric gives him the strikeout sign. You can see right here, it's where the bat goes, and did he catch the ball in the air? Kennedy does it, and there's Eric.
Weiss pops it down the line in foul territory, and that drops untouched in the bullpen. 0-1 on Walt, who hit only 3 homers during the regular season, but homered in Game 1 against Garrelts. Weiss with knee surgery missed about half the season. Last year's Rookie of the Year in the American League. 1-1.
And the home run came on a split-fingered fastball, same pitch that just struck out Tony Phillips. It was not a good pitch in Game 1 for Scott Garrelts because he didn't have command of it.
To center field. Butler gauging it, drifting back. 2 down in the 2nd inning. Two out, bases empty. The A's are ahead 2-0. And Dave Stewart will come up, obviously, for the first time this season, even though Stewart, in parts of 6 seasons in the National League, hit 196. He was 10 for 51. There it is, his career mark. In there in the count of 1-1.
And it has been a long drought for American League pitchers in World Series play. 0 for their last 67, dating back to 1979 when Tim Stoddard, teammate of yours, Jim.
Yeah, you know what happened that day? The Orioles were staging a rally, coming from behind as a game they won. I was on the bench. So anyway, Stoddard, as you look at Dave Park, he couldn't even get anybody else in there. He let Stoddard hit. He got a base hit.
A's gone in order, to the amusement of even Parker. Candlestick Park, Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver gain 3 of the World Series. Oakland on top 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the 2nd inning. And the middle of the order for the Giants, Kevin Mitchell, who led the majors in homers and runs batted in, and Ken Oberkfell and Matt Williams. Stewart set the Giants down in order in the 1st and begins by missing away here, ball 1. 1-0. Mitchell 3 for 8 in the World Series and did pretty well in the playoffs against the Cubs. He was 6 for 17 as well, but that was all obliterated because of Will Clark's performance. Obliterated in the minds of fans. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Here at Candlestick tonight, all you needed, of course, was your ticket stub. The original Game 3 was sold out. And the stub alone gets you back into the ballpark. Only about 75 people turned their original ticket stubs in. And Mitchell has gone on strikes. And so Dave Stewart, picking right up where he left off a week ago Saturday, has retired the first 4, and he has struck out 3 in a row.
Power hitter, power pitcher. Did not get that ball where he wants to. Tried to go inside. You can see Steinbach sitting in. That ball's away, but you see the great movement along with the velocity that Dave Stewart has. Plus, he's already thrown enough split fingers to make the hitters look for it.
Oberkfell at the plate. Oberkfell picked up from Pittsburgh in May, a most valuable Giant coming off the bench this year. He was a regular, you'll recall, with St. Louis and Atlanta. Then he went to Pittsburgh and then to San Francisco. And back in the lineup as Craig tries to find some punch. Giants limited in this World Series to 9 hits in now 19 in the 3rd innings. Count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Pinch hit base hit off Mike Moore. Just slapped it into left field in Game 2. Likes to describe himself, Ken does, as a patient hitter. And he said, that's what I'm going to try to do off Dave Stewart. Not swing at the split finger until I have to. I got to do it with 2 strikes.
One of the raps on Oberkfell is that he's not an RBI man, and usually those 2 go hand in hand. If you don't strike out a lot, you don't drive in many runs.
To right field, Canseco nearly misjudged it, but finds it and makes the catch. It's still a little tough right now in the twilight. Lights not having full effect, and they will in about another 20 or 25 minutes. But for the moment, it can be a little tricky. Matt Williams, I guess that statement there reflecting the thoughts of so many of the players on both sides tonight. One and 0 the count. Williams expressing his thoughts. Boy, you find out a lot about these players in times like this. Dave Stewart in particular. I mean, every time you saw Dave Stewart interviewed before this tragedy, it was always in regard to baseball, and you knew that he was an articulate man and an intelligent man, but of all the players who have expressed their thoughts during this terrible time, no one with any more articulateness than the man on the mound, Dave Stewart. So the Giants pick up their 2nd run of the World Series, their first home run, and they want Williams back out. Terry Kennedy, the batter, takes a strike. Williams did come out for his curtain call, and the score is 2-1. 2 the count.
18 home runs during the regular season for the Giants. He had 26 in Phoenix. Gives him 44 and 3 in postseason play.
And Kennedy gone on 3 pitches. So Stewart comes back to strike out his 4th Giant, but San Francisco gets a run.
This home run by Matt Williams doesn't give the Giants the lead, but it gives them confidence. Only the 2nd extra base hit in the series for the Giants. The other a double by Will Clark.
And home run's no stranger to Stewart. On a hanging split-fingered fastball, came right back to get Kennedy out on the same pitch.
Now Ricky Henderson to start the 3rd inning. Top of the order, Henderson, Lansford, and Canseco. One and 1 the count. Stu, I guess forever destined to finish 2nd or 3rd in the Cy Young balloting. It's going to happen again this year, probably.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people wonder how you can be baseball's most consistent player or pitcher over the last 3 years and not win a Cy Young award. Well, it's simple. Just have 3 superlative years, and then somebody each year has a little bit better. 87, it was Clemens. It was 20 and 9 with a lower ERA. And 88, it was Viola, and this year, Brett Saberhagen. Saberhagen going 23 and 6 with the lowest ERA in baseball for a starter. It's 2.16, just a little bit lower than Scott Garrelts, who led the National League with a 2.22.
3-1 pitch is fouled off, and the count 3-2 on Henderson. Ricky was one of the few A's who got here in plenty of time for the game. The team bus left the Oakland Coliseum at about 1:45 and didn't arrive at Candlestick Park until around 3:20 this afternoon. So they had a truncated batting practice as Henderson rips one into left center for a base hit and more as Mitchell has to play it off the fence, and Ricky has a double. Henderson hitting it so hard. That's the type of ball that's a guaranteed double on AstroTurf, but normally dies on the grass in this park, or at least is cut off by an outfielder. And Henderson able to drive it through the gap and winds up at 2nd.
We told you in game 1 and 2 that Henderson does not mind hitting with a 3-2 count. The reason, he knows he's not going to be walked. So you take a little bit off if you're the pitcher. He feels comfortable. And on AstroTurf, with the ball bounding around, is probably a triple.
Lansford, look out, and the count is 1-0.
Lansford trying to go the other way. He has right field on his mind, so therefore he's ducking out over the plate. That's the 2nd close pitch thrown by Scott Garrelts. The other one, of course, to Jose Canseco in the 1st inning. But that pitch looked more inside than it really was because Lansford is trying to hit the ball the other way.
Which he does there, and strokes it foul, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
A great right field hitter. Reminds me of a great former Oakland A, Joe Rudy. Similar batting style. Rudy with more power. But Lansford had a terrific year, hitting .336. Only 2 home runs, so he hits the inside out of the ball. This is a perfect situation for him.
1-1. Williams ducking in back of Henderson to keep him close to 2nd, and the pitch is inside. When Henderson's at 2nd, you have to pay attention to him, much as you do at first base, obviously, because Ricky, if you give him a decent lead, and sometimes even if you don't, he'll take off.
Well taken point. You got to make him stop, and he does not need a big lead to steal.
And again, Lansford fighting it off, trying to go the other way with it, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Roger Craig, Bob Lillis.
Lansford again trying to go the other way. That's why Henderson isn't going to steal with nobody out. He's less likely to steal with none out than he is with 1 out. Because with nobody out, Lansford may push him to 3rd, and for that reason, you don't need to steal 3rd base.
Yeah, Carney can help the ball club not only by getting obviously Ricky Henderson to third base, but he can hit the ball the other side and not really impair his batting average. He does that so much over the course of the season.
Henderson stole third 21 times this year. The 2-2 pitch just missing. Kennedy wanted the ball. Voltaggio says,
Well, you know, sometimes you even fool the umpire. That ball is about dead center, just above the knees.
in the NFL, it's strike 3 upon further review. Henderson at second, nobody out. Third inning, 2-1 Oakland. 3-2 to Lansford, got him. Three strikeouts for Scott Garrels. And Canseco comes up.
Well, an umpire will tell you he'll never, ever evens it up. Ball looked close enough to call, and it was. Of course, I'll tell you what, you go back to that first pitch, Tim, that ball way up and in, it will make you freeze on the breaking ball.
There goes Henderson. Canseco takes a strike. The throw not in time. Good jump. Ricky steals third. So with one out, he goes. With nobody out, giving Lansford a chance to hit the ball. But there it is, a perfect illustration of what he normally does.
It's just intelligent team play. Henderson giving Lansford a chance to get him over, and he took things into his own hands, or into his own feet, really.
Giants compelled now to play the infield in, and the count on Canseco is 1-1. He's in there.
The only time that Henderson has been thrown out, he was thrown out by Kennedy at third base in the 6th inning of Game 2.
That's Ricky's second steal of the series and his 10th in postseason. And tying the record set by Davey Lopes in 1981. 1-2 on Canseco. Jose, 1 home run in that championship series, and that, of course, was the monstrous shot at the Sky Dome. Fastball is a little squibber to third. Overfill able to check the runner, and they're going to say now a foul ball or not. Canseco is saying a foul ball, but the umpire Voltaggio is saying no, sir. And of course, the Nippy Jones stories will now come out. What about the shoe polish? And LaRussa will go to Voltaggio and say, let's check with the first base umpire, Dutch Renner.
The one problem is the Oakland Athletics have white shoes and the baseball's white.
That's right.
I think the ball might have hit him, and for this reason. I don't think you can act that quickly. If the ball hits your foot, as opposed to hitting the ground, you can't act that quickly. Talking about the NFL instant replay. That ball hit his foot. That ball came right off his foot.
Meanwhile, that one hits Garrels, who's able to recover, and a soft toss to Clark to take care of McGuire. And they check out Garrels, who really took a shot. A bullet back through the middle as he comes staggering off the mound. But the A's are gone, leaving Henderson at third in the third. Candlestick Park in San Francisco as we go to the bottom of the third inning. Another look now at the Canseco play here, Tim.
This is very, very close, and if an umpire can't tell, it appears to have hit his foot. If an umpire can't tell, you've got to go by the reaction of the hitter. Now, see, that ball appears to hit Canseco's foot, but his reaction was more telling than that instant replay, because he stopped. Your natural inclination when you hit a ball on the ground that didn't hit your foot, you run to first. But because he stopped, I think that was the best indication of all.
Pat Sheridan leads off the bottom of the third by hitting a soft bouncer down to Phillips, and he's gone. So one away here in the bottom of the third inning, and the batter will be Scott Garrels. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a case of you know it's off your foot or it's hit your foot, so you figure, well, everybody else knows.
Right. And you can't think that quickly. A more telling sign of you trying to get away with something would be to run 3 steps toward first and then stop. Then it's a different story.
Here's Gereltz. I mentioned Nippy Jones. You go back to 57, the Braves and the Yankees, and one of the key plays in that. Jones hit by a pitch, and it was only determined that he was hit by a pitch when they discovered the shoe polish on the ball. 1-1. Good thing he used his kiwi that day, huh? That is Alcatraz, the island sitting out in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Marin County in the background, and the great city of San Francisco in the foreground as Gereltz fouls it away, and they count 1-2. Butler on deck. Gereltz this season with 2 triples, including one which ended up with him on the disabled list, and down he goes on strikes. Gereltz, in a game against the Cubs, in fact, we were doing it as a Thursday night telecast this year, hurt himself sliding into third and wound up going on the DL. 2 down, and Brett Butler is the batter. And a reminder, tomorrow, Saturday, here on ABC at noon Eastern time, Indiana takes on Michigan. College football. Then regional action, you'll see Washington against UCLA or Ohio State against Minnesota following at 3:30 Eastern time. And then we're back here tomorrow at 8 Eastern time for the World Series Game 4. Butler hits a soft fly ball to Dave Henderson. And 9 of the 10 Giants have gone down. The only blemish on the Stewart ledger, the home run by Williams. 2-1 Oakland. San Francisco World Series resuming tonight, Game 3, and on to the 4th inning we go with Dave Henderson to lead off, then Steinbach and Phillips, and the first pitch is outside for a ball. Henderson, a 2-run double off the top of the right field fence in the first inning to give Oakland the lead. You know, you walk around the area and people have said, and I'm sure they said it to you guys too, tell everybody we're okay. We're okay. We're bouncing back. The city's fine. Come on out.
Boy, such a clutch player for Oakland. Playoffs, World Series. Even when he had a bad playoff, the one hit he got was a home run. That was in '86. 2 outs, 2 strikes. Fine center fielder, and he's put it on a show tonight. Gereltz tried to come up a little bit different pitching pattern.
Here's Steinbach grounding one to short. A nice convenient hop for Matt Williams. And the A's catcher is out, number 1.
Now what Gereltz would like to do is get him out with breaking balls. He threw him 2 breaking balls, got behind, had to come in with a fastball. Still got to hit it, and that's what Dave Henderson did. 3 really hits this inning have been hit right on the number.
And here comes Craig. It's always a tip-off when the catcher looks over into the dugout. It's almost as if he's saying he's lost it. And Kennedy took a long look into the dugout, and Craig comes out. And Kelly Downs throwing in the bullpen. And in he comes, and as we mentioned before, Craig has to manage like this is the last game of the year. Gereltz out, Downs comes in. In town, the lights come on, and at Candlestick Park, the A's are trying to turn the Giants' lights out. They lead 4-1. Gereltz leaving the game. And again, Gereltz was hit by this line drive off McGuire's bat, ending the 3rd inning.
Definitely, you see Weiss hit it to Clark at first. And there's 2 down, but that had to lead to his demise. Hit him on the right side. We really couldn't tell from the angle whether it got him in the arm or in the right rib cage. But again, if you have a kind of year that Gereltz have, you're not going to leave the game until Roger Craig has to do what's best for his team.
Something you really can't understand either. I mean, Scott Gereltz in 193 innings during the season gave up only 11 home runs. In postseason play, in about 18 innings, he's given up 7 home runs. 19 innings to be exact. Of course, your competition is a lot better in postseason play. You're playing against the best.
Also more innings than he's ever pitched before. As you look at Kelly Downs, a couple of innings. Game 2 has pitched extremely well. Resilient, rubber arm, good slider, and he gets to face the pitcher.
And he's a hit on him, no balls and 2 strikes. Down really one of the unsung heroes in the league championship series, twice coming out of the bullpen and effectively filling the role of long man. Kelly Downs, the 0-2 pitch is just outside. 1-2.
All the runs have been scored off San Francisco's starting pitchers. Bullpen has done a fine job when they've got into the games.
One ball, two strikes.
People sitting at home, excuse me, why you don't start a Kelly Downs after he pitched so well in the championship series? You got to go with the guys that got you to the playoffs. And again, Downs, as we said, even though he's had some shoulder problems, has shown Roger Craig a great fastball, a good slider, and again, that resilient arm that can bounce back with only a day between pitching performances.
Well, I think Craig felt that was the perfect role for Downs with his reconstructed pitching staff, because he could do something that he figured Gurels couldn't do. Soft looper right into the glove of Thompson. But a couple of homers in the fourth by Dave Henderson and Tony Phillips. 4-1 is the score, and back we come after a word from our ABC stations. World Series resuming at Candlestick Park. Game 3, the A's are on top by a score of 4-1, and Robbie Thompson to lead off in the bottom of the fourth. Thompson, Clark, and Mitchell. Robbie struck out in the first inning and waves at a breaking pitch. It doesn't get it. 0-1. One hit for the Giants. That a home run to left field by Matt Williams, which is his only hit in the series. Got the inside corner, and the count is 0-2. And on 3 pitches, down he goes on the fork or split finger. Second time he has struck out. And in 3 1/3 innings, that's 6 strikeouts for Dave Stewart. And Will Clark talking to himself as he comes up.
Well, that's the advantage of staying ahead. Dave Stewart doing a terrific job staying ahead. 6 strikeouts, and he has used those fork balls to his advantage. But if you don't stay ahead, hitters won't swing at the balls out of the strike zone.
Clark lines it into center field for a base hit. So with 1 out, a single by Clark here in the 4th inning, and the crowd comes very much alive again as Kevin Mitchell comes to the plate.
And that's the way to combat that. When they try to get ahead, hit the first pitch.
Will Clark went home, watched the films. He said, hey, Stewart, like I said, Stewart throws me fastball with nobody on, and that's what he got, and he pinked it into center field.
Kevin Mitchell struck out in the 2nd inning. Takes away ball 1.
Well, you talked about the home runs. You're looking at the home run leader in the major leagues with 47. Stewart threw 23, 3 in the playoffs, and then 1 here tonight. Never, ever a 3-run home run. No grand slams either.
That's grounded to the hole, and a base hit, and the Giants have runners at first and second. Fell coming to the plate.
A similar pitch that Matt Williams hit for a home run, except this ball is a little bit farther outside. Fork ball up in the strike zone. You see it. Perfect example of Kevin Mitchell's strength. Took a ball outside and pulled it by the third baseman.
Oberfeld fly to Canseco in the 2nd inning. 1-0.
Dave Stewart needs a ground ball, but this season he had about 100 more outs in the air than he did on the ground, which means that in a situation like this, you can't look for the double play ball as you would normally. Stewart does not throw a lot of ground balls.
Crowd chanting OB, OB. 2-0.
Yeah, but the only time you're going to see somebody hit a ground ball is if he got ahead and he could throw that fork ball. Well, it's 2-0. Real good hitting situation for Oberkfell. As we told you, a patient guy. He can look for his pitch. 2-0. He knows Stewart with a 3-1 lead. Doesn't want to walk him, especially with Matt Williams on deck. He's already homered.
3-0. Oberkfell at first. Hayes infield double play depth, and Williams, who homered in the second.
Side of that coin, and 292 times at bat, struck out 72 times.
Yeah, but now with the count 0-2, you can go out of the strike zone. That's been Stewart's pattern, and he needs a strikeout here.
Yeah, home run came on a 2-1 pitch. Good point.
Williams not fighting, 1-2. Jeff Brantley gets up in the Giants' pen as Craig looks ahead. Williams is hitting in the 6th spot. Kennedy is on deck. Bases loaded, 1 out in the 4th. 4-1 A's. And the 1-2 pitch to Williams in the dirt, 2-2. Got him. Williams couldn't pull the trigger. Perfect pitch by Stewart, and a big second out. 2 down, and Kennedy comes up. And that's 7 strikeouts for Stu.
Wonder how you win 20 games 3 years in a row. You got to make clutch pitches at clutch times. And you can't be afraid to throw the ball over the plate and challenge a hitter. Of course, that challenge was right on the outside corner.
Now Kennedy, who's been cold at the plate in postseason, swings and misses. He hit .239 during the regular season. Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike on Kennedy. And that's lined into center field for a base hit. Clark comes in to score. Here comes Mitchell. The throw is cut off. It's 4-3.
pitch by Stewart to Matt Williams, and now you see a clutch hit by Terry Kennedy. An outside fastball drilled up the middle. Good hitting by Kennedy.
I got to think that Stewart threw the ball exactly where he wanted to. Kennedy, who struggled really since 1987, that's the biggest hit in a couple of years.
Pat Sheridan with 2 out takes the ball, and the count is 1-0. Giants have Oberkfell at second, Kennedy at first. It's 4-3 in the fourth. Sheridan, the number 8 hitter. In the American League Park, you wouldn't have to worry about it next with the pitcher Downs out on deck, but here it's a whole other story, and thus Brantley continues to throw in the Giants' pen for Roger Craig. 1-1 the count on Sheridan. Ball 2. Giant to hit in the inning. Downs on deck, and the 2-2 pitch is grounded to the right side. Great diving, stopped by McGuire, but the throw does get it. Stewart gets over there just in time to take care of him at first base, but the Giants get 2 to make it 4-3.
One of the first things Dave Stewart will tell you, how do you win 20 games? You take advantage of an underrated defense. McGuire at 6'5", about 230. Well, he just heads off a ball destined for right field. Would have tied it up 4-4. Good play by Stewart covering first base, something you do all spring training, and really paid off here. Great agility for the big guy.
So the Giants settle for the 2 on Kennedy's 2-run single in the 4th inning, and now on to the 5th. In the top of the order with Ricky Henderson facing Kelly Downs, and the pitch inside, ball 1. One thing McGuire's play did is it kept Downs in the game. Had he not been able to throw Sheridan out at first base, Craig would have been compelled to go to the bench, and then Brantley would have been in. Now you not only have Downs pitching in the top of the 5th inning, but assuming he keeps the A's close, he would probably lead off in the bottom of the 5th. Strike to Henderson, and the count is 2-1.
If young hitters could only understand that you become a better hitter when you take a pitcher's pitch. That was the 15th strike Ricky Henderson has taken during the series. It's almost a misnomer. People say, well, how can you be a better hitter if you take? The reason to take is to get ahead, and Ricky Henderson often gets ahead in the count.
Two and 2 the count. And now it's full.
Yeah, and once again, he runs it to 3-2. You know, it brings up a perfect point. Hitters that swing at balls hardly ever get strikes to swing at, because pitchers are smart enough to know that they don't want to get them out inside the strike zone. They want to have them expand the strike zone.
And Henderson is on. So Ricky Henderson leading off, which is just the way the A's like it, not only at the start of the game, but in any particular inning. It's the 3rd time he's led off tonight, and the 2nd time he's reached. And Lansford comes to the plate. Clark holding Henderson on at first. Ricky 77 steals during the regular season and caught just 14 times.
And the pitch to Lansford is inside, ball 1.
And what he makes you do, Ricky Henderson, as a pitcher, is most of the time you got to either throw a hard breaking ball or the fastball. It makes you jump because you want to get the ball to home plate in such a hurry. It ruins your timing.
1-1. Downs both times on both pitches thus far to Lansford, keeping Henderson close to first.
But again, as you mentioned, it's not the lead, it's can you stop him? When you take a look at Ricky, is he stopped? In other words, is he static? Is he stationary?
This time he goes, gets a good jump, the pitch misses, and the throw to second misses as well, and Henderson with a steal.
There was a quick release, a good fastball, a good pitch for Kenny to throw on. No chance, because he had a running lead. His momentum was going to second base. It wasn't that his gravity was going towards the ground, going back to first base.
Another thing speed does for you, it allows you not to have to give up outs. Normally, with routine speed at first base, Lansford would be bunting in a situation like this. He may be now with the count 2 balls and a strike. But again, Henderson, after stealing second, would be more tentative stealing third until there's one out. And he looked like he may have jammed his right wrist sliding into second base.
And Dr. Clark, Al Clark, takes a look at it. Meanwhile, Henderson, 11 steals. That breaks Lopes' record in 81. And again, of course, you only had the World Series through 1969 when the leagues expanded and divided into divisions and then postseason play. And in 81, in fact, Lopes had an extra set of games because that was the year of the strike, and they had divisional playoffs as well. Inside ball 3, 3-1 the count on Lansford. So Henderson setting the record in what would be his 8th postseason game. 5 in the playoffs and now 3 in the series. And Lansford is on. So Downs has walked the first 2 A's here in the 5th inning, and Canseco comes to the plate. And Craig goes to the mound, and what's the most important inning for Downs, because the Giants scrambling back into the game with 2 in the bottom of the 4th. And the last thing they'll want to see is the A's reestablish a 2 or 3 run cushion.
Yeah, any momentum the Giants have going for them can be stifled right here. First 2 guys on. Boy, what a tremendous year Lansford's had. Only 1 month that he hit under 300. I think that was June. 2 months he hit over 400. 336. And Tim, you told us that's the highest since he led the American League in batting back in the early 80s.
Jose Canseco comes to the plate. He singled in the first inning to snap an 0 for 23 streak over the last 2 World Series. Then he grounded out in the 3rd. And he comes up here with runners at first and second and nobody out. A's ahead by a run, and the Giants not even remotely thinking bunt. The infield back at what would be regular depth. And it's popped foul back into the upper deck behind us, and the count is 0-1. There's Brantley again, throwing in the bullpen, up for the 2nd time. Again, the pitcher due to lead off at the bottom of the 5th. If Craig had to go to his bullpen here in the inning, he'd probably make a double switch and send either Maldonado or Nixon into right field and have them bat 9th, and the pitcher hit 8th. Henderson at second. Lansford is the runner at first. 0-1 the count. Breaking pitch. 1-1.
One of the key plays in this game so far, Tony La Russa having the runners running Lansford and Canseco in the first inning with McGuire hitting. And that allowed Henderson to bat with 2 outs, and he drove them both in with a double. But had both runners not been running, McGuire may have grounded into a double play.
On the corner, and the count 2-2.
And they are trying to do, the Giants, with Jose Canseco, exactly what the Dodgers did last year in the World Series. Pound him inside, count on his aggressiveness to expand the strike zone. In other words, don't let him hit a strike. That's how they got him out last time on that questionable ball off his foot.
Pickoff play at second, and real close. Henderson going back and standing up.
That's what made it close. Had he gotten down, it wouldn't have been this close. But he almost leans into the tag. That is a very, very close play.
And again, Thompson gets there. Ooh, close again.
You know, a lot of times you'll do that to maybe cut a step or two off a runner's lead, but the way Henderson runs the bases, you're trying to pick him off. I mean, he's going to score in a single. You get a slow guy out there, you can make him a step or two back towards second. It'll make a big difference for your outfielder as far as throwing somebody out. But with Ricky,
McGuire hits the next pitch in the air in foul territory. Kennedy comes all the way back, runs out of room. One thing the A's have done consistently now in postseason in the 8 games, they have taken advantage of walks time after time after time. They did it against Toronto. Deep ball. Hit it into area code 900. And the count 0-2.
yeah, that's the way to exercise the demons of World Series Past. Get a hanging slider when you're trying to make contact. You know he can hit it 550 feet. Well, he only drilled that one about 420 on the line.
And the count on McGuire is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Now, if you went to any pitcher in the American League and you say, what's the one pitch you don't want to throw Jose Canseco? That's a flat slider in the center of the plate. That's what Downs did.
Breaking pitch takes care of McGuire, so Downs finally gets the first out of the 5th inning. 1 down, and it will bring up Dave Henderson, who has done his damage tonight by virtue of a double to score 2 in the first and a solo homer in the 4th. Oakland has hit 3 homers. And everybody was figuring, well, the layoff would do one thing. The pitchers would be way ahead of the hitters. Say what?
Well, Ricky Henderson said it best. Hey, we hit off some pretty good pitchers in these inter-squad games. It looked like they missed a beat.
World Series record for most home runs in a game is 6. We've had 5. Here comes Brantley, and back we come to Candlestick Park after this. Jeff Brantley comes in to pitch, and the first man he faces is Terry Steinbach. Brantley will hit in the number 8 spot, and as we had suggested, Candy Maldonado comes into the game in a double switch in right field, batting 9th, which means Maldonado, and there he is, taking Sheridan's spot in the outfield, will lead off in the bottom of the 5th inning. 1 out in the 5th inning, 8-3. Oakland. Dave Henderson with 2 home runs and a double that hit the top of the fence. Two and 1 the count. Brantley used as a long man now, but as Craig looks ahead and looks down the line, he thinks Brantley will make a terrific closer. And the count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And that's one of the reasons 91 mile per hour fastball, at least over the ability to throw it over 90 miles per hour. Pretty good breaking ball. as almost all the pitchers here in San Francisco, throws the Roger Craig split finger fastball.
Still 3-2 on Steinbach. 8 runs and 8 hits for the A's, including 4 homers, 3 runs and 4 hits for the Giants, including 1 homer. And that's ball 4. So Steinbach draws the 3rd walk of the inning. Phillips comes up, home runs in 2 consecutive innings. Who's done it? It's pretty good company. Babe Ruth, Big Clue, Reggie, Willie Mays Aikens, and D. Henderson does it tonight.
And Tony Phillips could do it too. He homered in the 4th inning. Bay Day.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if Phillips, after only hitting 4 all year, hits 2 home runs in back-to-back innings, we're playing with 1987 baseballs, in spite of what it says on.
They're going out like that tonight, but that's Candlestick Park on a windless night. On a windy night, you don't know what you're going to get, because there's no such thing as a prevailing wind here. What you really have in Candlestick Park when it blows is wind shear. But tonight, and this is a typical October night, everybody making such a big deal out of what will Candlestick be like in October. It was like that in the playoffs, like that tonight, and we've got a balk. So you even have balks on windless nights at Candlestick. The most famous balk of all, of course, was Stu Miller in the wind in the All-Star game in '62. Now back live. That's in for a strike, and the count 1-1.
Oh, Vic Voltaggio thought he started his windup. If you start it all and stop, of course, Jeff Brantley will tell you I stepped off before I broke my hands or I stopped my windup. It does put a runner in scoring position.
One to Phillips. Good fastball, and the count is 1-2.
Yeah, I believe Stu Miller still lives around the area here. Boy, what a relief pitcher he was. Do you ever hit off him, Tim? Or try to hit off him?
I was up there against him. The head jerk, right?
Oh, the parachute ball. In fact, he originated the BP fastball. Just a routine pitch he threw in there with a neck jerk.
And Phillips has gone on strikes. Phillips, thinking it was the 3rd out, was ready to flip his helmet away. He'd already thrown the bat away. And momentarily avoids a little embarrassment, and would have had we not brought it up, I suppose. But there it is for all of you to see. Oh, yeah. 3 gone. Not quite.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what long innings will do to you.
Tony almost had our tape truck rolling in a commercial. 2 down, and Weiss at the plate. The count 1-0. 8-3 Oakland in the 5th inning. If the Giants go down 0-3, no team has ever overcome that deficit, but several have overcome 0-2 since the mid-50s. None before that. The first time a team came back from 0-2, it was the Dodgers winning their first ever world title in Brooklyn in '55. But since then, it's become more common than uncommon. The majority of teams since that point have overcome 0-2. 2-1. There it is, 9 of the last 17, and you don't have to go back very far. The Mets did it in '86. Royals did it in '85. And Weiss hits a bouncer to the hole. Clark fields and flips the ball to Brantley, and that's that. But a damaging inning for the Giants as the A's pick up 4 and lead it 8-3. Candlestick Park, where the game began in sunshine at about 5:30. The Goodyear blimp hovering high above Candlestick Park. John Creighton is the pilot. Sully sending the shots down from above Candlestick Park, which was erupting in the bottom of the 4th inning as the Giants rally to get back into the game. Dave Stewart, and we mentioned Dave Stewart and what he has said over this terrible stretch of time. One of his remarks right there. And a man who we mentioned before is from the area, born and raised in what's known as the East Bay, and now coming back home to enjoy the fruits of his career, and he's at the pinnacle of it right now. A man who, as many of you know, was released in 1986 looking for a job. Boy, has he ever found one. Maldonado on a half swing, hits it softly by the mound. Phillips is there to come up with it, and Candy is gone on the first pitch in the bottom of the 5th inning. So 1 away, and Brett Butler comes to the plate. Stewart, released by the Phillies in '86, and told us before the World Series that that wasn't the low point. The low point was 5 days later when the phone had not rung. He said that was the lowest of the low, because then you feel you may be done. Truly. Butler takes outside, ball 1.
Yeah, and such outstanding ability. I saw him pitch early 80s and into the 80s. Always had a great arm, but he's certainly become an outstanding pitcher. When I say that, I mean really mixes up his pitches well. We have not seen a curveball. He used to be a fastball curveball pitcher. Tonight he has stayed really with a fastball and a split fingered, and it's been a struggle.
Butler hits one to center field. Dave Henderson is right there. 2 down.
The one thing that Dave Stewart will do is throw the ball over. Only 1 walk tonight. That was Oberfeld last inning. So with an 8-3 lead, he's not afraid to come in there, even if he gets behind.
Well, the split finger fastball has really been his salvation. Encouraged to throw it by Dave Duncan. Interesting story about how Duncan learned about the split finger fastball.
Robbie Thompson hits a fly ball to shallow left field, and Henderson comes on, and Ricky makes the catch on the run. So a quick inning for Dave Stewart as the Giants go out 1-2-3 here in the 5th. It remains 8-3 A's, and will return after a word from our ABC stations. 3, Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, with the A's on top 8-3, and Dave Stewart leading off. Then Ricky Henderson and Carney Lansford. And Stewart chops one off his arm at the plate. 1-1 on Stewart, who is 0 for 2 tonight, and again, no American League pitcher with a World Series hit since 1979.
Dave not worried about hits. He's worried about at-bats. If he gets up 4 times, he's pitched well.
Shallow right center. Robbie Thompson says he'll take care of it. Stewart is 0 for 3, and Ricky Henderson comes up. It's the first time in the game Henderson has not led off an inning.
Talked about Dave Stewart and that split finger fastball. Everybody thinks Roger Craig is the guru, and certainly he's the modern day guru of the split finger fastball. But we mentioned Dave Duncan. Dave Duncan, the pitching coach of the Oakland Athletics, found out about the split finger fastball in a very unusual way. Gaylord Perry, when pitching for the Cleveland Indians, there's Dave in the middle of your screen, when pitching for the Cleveland Indians in 1973, Dave told me everybody thought he was throwing splitters or spitters then, and he was throwing splitters, not spitters. And he saw how effective that pitch was, and has been very helpful with the Oakland pitching staff in teaching it to them.
That's grounded sharply on a hop to third, and Oberfeld fires to first, and they take care of Henderson. So Ricky is gone. Henderson, by the way, that's the 35th plate appearance for him in postseason, and he's reached 21 times, and that's 60%. So 60% on and 40 off. Oberfeld throwing him out.
Not a tough play, but when you've been a pinch.
And Canseco at the plate takes a strike, and the count is 0-1. And that's hit high in the air to left field. Mitchell fading back, still going back on the track, and makes the catch. And so even the outs are long as the A's go down in the 6th. It's 9-3 Oakland. Happy man, Walter A. Haas Jr., his wife Evelyn. He owns the Oakland A's. He's also the managing general partner, and he is a San Franciscan. But he is more of an East Bayer in the world of baseball, as his team is now 12 outs away from being one game away, one victory away from a world title. 9-3. The A's on top as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, and Ken Oberkfell. 2 balls and no strikes the count on Clark. Hopped up in Mr. Weiss's neighborhood. 1 away. So 1 gone, and Kevin Mitchell is the batter. And with the NFL season coming up to the halfway mark, the Minnesota Vikings take on the New York Giants. A great matchup at the Meadowlands on Monday at 9 Eastern time. You'll see Herschel Walker against the Giants, leaders in the NFC East. A great way to spend Monday night, as always, with the Giffer and Double D. And I don't know who else at this point. Pitch to Mitchell for a strike, and the count 0-1.
The way things are going, you might make it.
Well, game 4 here tomorrow. Game 5, if necessary, would be played at Candlestick Park on Sunday. And if the series were then to continue on, Monday would be an off day, and then Tuesday, and if necessary, Wednesday at the Oakland Coliseum. Rolling Stones notwithstanding. Don Robinson will be tomorrow night's pitcher. Rick Russell was hit the other day by a line drive off the back of his shoulder, had a flu as well, and he's been pushed back in the rotation. Big Daddy, and there he is. I think he's feeling a little better as far as the flu is concerned. The question is his shoulder. But Robinson is in ink tomorrow, and Russell in pencil for Sunday.
You know, baseball is a marvelous game. Tim, you talked about the fact that Stewart's a fly ball pitcher, 100 more outs with fly balls and grounders, and on a night where the ball is flying, and yet to hit a home run. Excuse me, only the home run by Williams.
Only 3 ground ball outs retired by Dave Stewart. He has struck out 7 and walked only 1.
To center field, Dave Henderson moving over. And Henderson, who spent a brief part of 1987 in a Giant uniform, makes the catch. Well, we mentioned most home runs in a game, one team. The A's tying the mark tonight. The Yankees against the Cardinals. Babe Ruth hit 3. Lou Gehrig hit 1. I'm not sure if you heard of those two fellas, but I know you all remember Cedric Durst, who hit the 5th. Pitch to Oberkfell, missing, ball 1, 1-0. One and one.
Yeah, his best friends called him Rick. You're certainly aware of that.
There is the Transamerica Pyramid, accentuating the skyline of San Francisco. And that's a base hit into right field by Oberkfell. So Oberkfell picks up the Giants' 5th hit. 2-out single here in the 6th inning, and Matt Williams comes to the plate. He homered in the 2nd and struck out in the 4th. Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan. but very playable for Dave Henderson, and that's that for the Giants. Another air out. To the 7th we go. 9-3 A's. And back at Candlestick Park on we go to the 7th inning. Game 3 of the World Series. The Athletics trying to go up 3-0. And they lead it 9-3. Back of Dave Stewart. And on the strength of 5 home runs. Mark McGwire, who hit 33 during the regular season, has not joined the home run parade tonight. Swings and misses, and the count is 0-1.
Or during the series, only Mark McGwire and Ricky Henderson haven't homered for the A's, and that includes Dave Parker, the designated hitter. So 7 A's have combined for the home runs in this series. They have really spread it around. There's David.
Night off. No DH here. 2-1. I wonder if Parker's going to have a matching set of those earrings after the World Series.
Yeah, he said, I won't help him offensively. He said, but I'll tell you what, I can cheer. I make a great cheerleader. Oh, he had a fine year. 38, come back to have that kind of year. 22 home runs, 97 RBIs, which led the A's.
3-2 the count.
Yeah, well, there you saw Dave Henderson. You saw one earring. Probably will get the other one. But McGwire, 49 home runs 3 years ago, then 32, 33 this year. And the two guys in Major League history, the other guy, Jose Canseco, to hit 30 plus their first 3 years.
And McGwire is on, so another walk to an Oakland A, and that's been poison through postseason for the opposition. And here is Dave Henderson. Hit a double off the top of the fence, missed a home run by inches in the first. Homered in the 4th, homered in the 5th. Outside of that, nothing.
It doesn't look like the Giants pitching staff, not pitching in their squad games, are very sharp. You know, Grell struggled, Downs, who pitched well, struggled not only with his control, but also the type of stuff he had, and Brantley's all over the place.
One and 0 the count. Bob Lillis, Roger Craig, Norm Sherry, Bill Fahey. Quiet Giant dugout. Henderson fouls it away. The thing about Henderson and the way he responds in postseason, the dramatic home run in the 5th game of the playoffs in '86, sending the Red Sox to an eventual pennant, and then were it not for the Mets comeback in the 6th game of the World Series, he'd have won that game with a home run.
Yeah. And also a sacrifice fly in the 11th inning won it for the Boston Red Sox in Game 5 after he had tied it in the 9th.
Exactly. Lost in the shuffle. And that home run, by the way, in the 5th game of the playoffs against the Angels was his only hit in that series.
1 for 9.
2-1 to count. Atlee Hammaker gets up in the Giant bullpen. Brantley is due to hit second in the bottom of the 7th. This will be his final inning as Henderson fouls it away. It's funny how certain guys just seem to wind up where the action is. Joe Morgan used to be that way, whether he was at Houston or Cincinnati or San Francisco when the Giants came close to winning a division crown in '82. Philadelphia, those guys would always seem to wind up in postseason action. And here's Dave Henderson. Boston in '86, the Giants in '87, though he was ineligible for the playoffs. Oakland last year, Oakland this year. Oberkfell to Thompson 1 to first for 2. So they finally get Henderson and get a bonus as well as he grounds into a double play, and there are 2 down with the bases empty, and Terry Steinbach coming up.
Yeah, I always felt that Dave Henderson was a realist, and the statement he made during the delay from the earthquake, he said, you know, when guys were complaining, a little bit impatient, he said, let them go home. They're not under contract. They don't want to hang around and play the World Series, something we have strived all year for. Let them go home.
That's grounded through Oberkfell's legs, backed up by Williams, and too late at first base. So E5 as Ken Oberkfell can't come up with it. And the A's with Steinbach at first base and 2 down have Phillips coming to the plate.
Ball stayed down on Oberkfell. Watch it hug the ground. And Obi's glove is up, and it scoots on through for the first error of the ball game.
That brings up a point you made in, I think, first and 87. If you're playing the infield, you always want to stay below the hop. In other words, a lot easier to come up than to go down. That was a perfect illustration.
I'll tell you, the first time I ever heard that explained in that particular fashion was from Bob Kennedy, who was the minor league director of the Cardinals back in 1973. Keep your glove below the hop.
And that's the Bob Kennedy who's Terry's dad.
Right.
And is now a Giants executive.
Now as the minor league director of the San Francisco Giants.
Two down with Phillips at the plate. And he grounds it toward the hole, but Thompson is there to one-handed on the grass and get him. At the end of 6.5, it remains 9-3 A's. You know, one thing, the crowd is pretty quiet now because it's 9-3 for the opposition at Candlestick Park. It's worth noting, they were boisterous early on. It was an ebullient kind of crowd, and there was no question the people in the Bay Area overwhelmingly wanted the World Series to continue.
No question about it.
No, they've been waiting for baseball for 10 days. I think they're a little tentative now, especially the Giant fans.
Sure.
Well, there was so much talk about whether or not the World Series would have credibility and all of the rest as Kennedy begins the bottom of the 7th by popping out to Lansford. But if you were here, and we have all been here through the duration and talked to people and felt the pulse and all of that, there was no question in my mind that the overwhelming majority wanted it to be played. In fact, there was a poll yesterday, a phone-in poll. The results were in the San Francisco Examiner, the afternoon paper. 4 out of 5 said, keep on going. And it was real simple. The people who loved baseball wanted baseball. The people who were ambivalent about baseball before were going to be ambivalent after. It didn't matter to them. But it was an option. It was a choice. And certainly the response tonight of this crowd with Ernest Riles hitting here for Brantley has proven it in spades. As we say right now, it's quiet because their team is down by 6, but you could really feel it during the pregame ceremonies, at the start of the game, when Matt Williams hit his home run, and when the Giants rallied for 2 in the 4th. I mean, they were really into it. There's a high fly ball to center field, but room there for Dave Henderson. Backing up over the track. And Riles is out number 2. So 2 down here in the 7th inning. And Candy Maldonado comes to the plate. Atlee Hammaker has made his way in from the bullpen. He'll be the new pitcher in the top of the 8th inning. There's Atlee.
When you talk about momentum, the crowd being in the ball game, you got to go back to that great play that McGuire made. Had Stewart on the ropes, the diving, sprawling play to end the inning in the 3rd. That would have tied it up. Checked at actually the 4th inning.
And if he doesn't get him at first base, the other thing that would have done is it would have made Craig hit for Downs, and as it turned out, Downs didn't have it tonight.
3-run home run by Canseco in the next inning.
0-2 pitch is taken high, ball 1. 1-2.
A lot of people would argue, of course, the Dodgers had the lowest earned run average in all of Major League pitching. They don't have a DH over there in the National League, but second consecutive year, the A's have led the American League in earned run average. And there's a reason for that.
Postseason play, no pitcher winning 2 games in both the Championship Series, the World Series in the same year. Stewart trying to do it tonight.
There was, however, a pitcher that won 4 games in postseason play. That was Bert Hooton back in 1981. But one of those games was in the Divisional Championship Series when the Dodgers played the Houston Astros. They won 1 in the Divisional Championship Series, 2 in the NLCS, and 1 in the World Series.
Maldonado barely stays alive, and the count 3-2. Honeycutt in the bullpen. As Maldonado goes down on strikes. And for Smoke Stewart, that's number 8. On to the 8th. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver to the 8th inning. Atlee Hammaker is the new Giant pitcher. And Walt Weiss leading off for the A's. 0-1 the count. Weiss, and then we're going to see a pinch hitter. Dave Stewart has gone to the clubhouse. He's done after 7. Lance Blankenship has come out on deck. And then we'll see Ricky Henderson. There's a chopper, and it is a fair ball fielded by Oberkfell. Throw too late. So Weiss legs out an infield single. Looked like it may have even bounced off the corner of the plate and high in the air, and so Weiss is on.
And Will Clark does all he can. He tries to cheat. Watch him leave the base just a tad early. He tried to get it, but it appeared that Weiss just beat the play. Good call by Dutch Renner.
Here is Lance Blankenship getting his first chance to play in the World Series. This year, spent some time at Tacoma, 25 games in AAA, 58 games with the A's. He is the only rookie on the A's roster. And he looks at a strike and the count 0-1. He can play the outfield or second base.
He assumed the role of a utility man with Weiss out with a knee injury for about 65 ball games.
And he fouls it away, and the count is 0-2.
That's a pretty good right fielder. I saw him make some excellent plays in Baltimore this summer.
Very unusual that he's the only rookie on the Oakland roster also, because Canseco, McGuire, and Walt Weiss were rookies of the year 3 consecutive seasons, 86, 7, and 8. So by saying that Blankenship's the only rookie on the Athletics club is by no means to say that they're an old ball club.
1-2.
I think they have the makings of dynastic proportions.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's going to worry a lot of teams in the American League.
Right.
99 wins, 104 last year.
And not only that, but as they say with Henderson on deck, they're prouder of what they've done this year. With Canseco gone half the year and Weiss gone half the year, and Eckersley was out for a quarter of the season. And they were able to withstand the challenges of the Royals and the Angels. I mean, for most of the season, you had the 3 best records in baseball, all in the American League West.
Kansas City winning over 90 games. The same with the Angels. I think they won 91. Stayed right with them.
2-2 is ripped back through the middle for a base hit. Weiss will stop at second as Butler's throw comes in. And so back-to-back singles beginning the 8th inning, and Ricky Henderson will be coming to the plate. A's on top 9-3. Game 4 tomorrow, Saturday. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. We'll be with you.
Boy, no chance. A lot of hard hit balls tonight.
Mike Moore, who was the winner in Game 2 tomorrow, and Don Robinson pushed up ahead of Rick Russell to work. 8 o'clock Eastern time from Candlestick. Mañana. Ricky Henderson. Mentioned before, Henderson, one of the few A's who is at the park because he lives on this side of the bay. And if Tony La Russa did, well, I guess, one thing wrong in this World Series, he had the team bus leave a little too late today at 1:45 with the Bay Bridge down and down until the end of November. That cuts off the major artery and meant the A's had to come over on the San Mateo Bridge with a lot of traffic, and they didn't get here till about 20 after 3. And thus they had a shortened batting practice. Though you'd never know it. Actually, when I think about it, maybe La Russa was dead right. They didn't leave it in the cage.
Didn't leave it in the rehearsal hall, did they?
No. But Henderson lives here in Hillsborough, where the elite meet to eat, and he is among the elite. And that's hit in the air to center field. Brett Butler backs up. The runners are both tagging. Weiss is on his way to third, and then Blankenship holds at first as the throw comes into second. So Weiss moves up 90 feet. The A's now have runners at the corners as Henderson skies to center, and Carney Lansford comes to the plate.
Yeah, good play by Brett Butler. It seems like it's insignificant, but trailing 9-3. But I'll tell you what, your motion wants you to have you keep the guy at second, but he doesn't throw that well. Good sense is let him go to third, keep a double play in order. Ricky's saying that could have been the 6th home run. He got a high slider and just got it up on the bat.
Lansford chops one, and Oberkfell can't get it, and that'll score a run as Blankenship comes in, or Weiss comes in, and it's juggled by Mitchell, and another run scores as Blankenship crosses the plate following Weiss, and the A's add 2 more and lead it 11-3. And for Lansford, his 3rd hit, he has a single, a walk, a home run, and now a chopping base hit.
Outstanding base running by Lance Blankenship, going to third, making Mitchell hurry on the throw, and because Blankenship went to third, he's allowed to come home because it's the 2nd error of the game against the Giants.
It's a single, it's 1 run batted in, it's an error on Mitchell. It's 11-3, and the batter is Jose Canseco. Little squiver to short. Williams throws to first, and that's too late as Clark has to come off the bag. And Lansford goes to third. And the 2 third basemen get together, and it's almost as if Oberkfell said to Lansford one of those nights, and Carney said, yeah, no.
You can see Williams, he hurries, but Canseco can run. And right here, Clark trying to stay on the base. He is safe. But I tell you what, Lansford, who was at second, went to third. I think Will Clark's thinking, hey, he may go home. Kind of undoubtful in an 11-3 ball game, but I think Will had Lansford on his mind.
McGuire hits one in the air, twisting foul, and dropping back out of play. 0-1. So Canseco with a single. He has 3 hits tonight. The A's have 13. And strangely, McGuire has none of those. And he's the cleanup hitter. So on a night when they tie the World Series record for most homers in a game, the man in the 4-hole hasn't hit the ball out of the infield.
Of course, one of those did a lot of damage. The ball off Scott Garrelt's right side eventually led to Scott leaving the ball game. Barrage of a couple of home runs.
0-2 the count. A's ahead 11-3. So all 3 games routes to this point. 5-0 Oakland in game 1. 5-1 Oakland in game 2. Not quite routes, but mini routes. Certainly domination because of the pitching.
They've outscored the Giants 21-4.
That is a collective route.
Right.
Lefferts throwing in the bullpen. That's hit back off Hamaker's glove. Thompson is there. Off balance throw. Gets him for the 2nd out, but coming in to score is Lansford to make it 12-3. So McGuire will get an RBI, 1-4-3. 3rd run across in the inning. Down to second on the play goes Canseco, and Dave Henderson comes up.
Well, not hit hard off the fist. And you can just see what makes Robbie Thompson such a good second baseman. That's great range. Told you about his bad arm. Doesn't get a lot on this, but McGuire does not run well. 2 down.
1-0 the count. Henderson in the middle of your picture is the man who goes to the mound tomorrow, and he'll try to preserve a start for the other man who was in your picture, Rick Russell. That's one that is sliced foul down the line and back out of play. And the count 1-1.
Probably wondering what Don Robinson is thinking about after watching the home run barrage by the A's. But professional pride makes you think you're going to pitch better than your teammates. You're going to learn from their mistakes. And they like Don Robinson because he's got such a tremendous competitive nature. Knee problems kept him from pitching as much as he'd like.
Well, with a 12-3 lead, Dave Henderson finds a way to go to first base the hard way.
And I'll tell you what, somebody from San Francisco is going to go down next inning, because this is a purpose pitch.
Yeah, earlier in the game, it didn't appear to be intentional, but this one appears to be certainly more intentional than earlier.
Yeah, you know, if you're Tony La Russa, you don't want to see your guys get hit. You know, also you don't want to get the, you know, throwing contest, because what happens, most guys get hurt. I mean, either one of somebody on your team or whatever. But the one thing Tony will not stand for is guys throwing at Dave Henderson's or McGuire's or Canseco's. You just can't let it happen.
1-0 pitch is whacked into left field for a base hit. Mitchell comes up with the ball as Canseco rounds third, and he comes in to score. And it's 13-3 on a single by Steinbach as he joins the hit parade. That's his first hit of the night. Roger Craig goes to the mound, and Craig Lefferts will very possibly be summoned into the bullpen, and you can turn that possibly into definitely. So in will come Lefferts, the sprinter. With the A's on top 13-3. Eighth inning, it's 13-3 Oakland. Craig Lefferts comes in to pitch, and Tony Phillips becomes the ninth A to bat in the eighth. And the pitch away, ball one. So the A's with 2 on, 2 out, 4 over in the inning. Ricky Henderson's mom, Bobby, she moved recently, had a new phone installed, gave her son the number and said, Ricky, don't lose that number. Oh, no, stop it. Yeah, boy. It's 13-3. What do you want? 1-1. Oh, help me, Rhonda. That is Ricky's brother, Tyrone. One and one the count. Ball 2, 2-1.
Tyrone loved that line.
Yeah. So did Dave Henderson.
So did Dave, yeah, right.
Guess which team's ahead? That's hit in the air to center field. Brett Butler is there, and he makes the catch. But the A's bat around in the eighth. They had 4, and at the end of 7.5, it's 13-3 Oakland. 13-3, the A's on top. Those in yellow making a change or coming into the game. The new right fielder, Stan Javier. He'll hit in the 2 spot. Lance Blankenship, the second baseman, stays in the game, hits 9th. The new pitcher is Rick Honeycutt, who will bat in the 3 spot. Canseco comes out of the game. Tony Phillips at third base now moves over from second. So you saw the defensive alignment as Honeycutt takes the mound after Stewart goes 7. And Donnell Nixon will lead things off against Honeycutt. So Nixon batting for Butler. He'll be followed by Thompson. And Litton has already come out on deck, so even Robbie will come out of the game. And then Clark. 2 hopper to short. one-handed by Weiss over to McGuire, and quickly one away. Robbie Thompson due up, and Greg Litton to bat for him to make his first appearance. Goodyear Blimp hovering high above Candlestick Park, where they have begun to file out, as you might suspect. But did we get an official attendance figure tonight? We'll have to round that up for you. It was totally sold out as Litton grounds one just out of the outstretched reach of Weiss into center field for a base hit. So Litton is on with one out in the 8th inning, and Will Clark will come to the plate.
Well, Litton, who had an excellent year, a utility player, can play a little bit of the outfield, infield. An alley hitter, and he does what you want to do when you're trailing by 10 runs, 13-3. Hit it back up the middle. Another perspective, you got a pretty good idea of what kind of range Weiss has as shortstop. Almost got to that ball.
The attendance tonight, 62,038. And that's just about total capacity. Clark fouls it away. I thought, actually, the only people who probably didn't show up are those who may have thrown away their ticket stubs or lost them. I know a lot of people obviously came to town and then had to leave town for whatever reason. But about as close to capacity as you can come, though they have begun to filter away. 0-1 on Clark. Of course, for those who have followed this franchise through the years, it is some sight to see this place filled. The Giants were a team that were a step away from leaving the area in the mid-70s. The nadir of the franchise, Horace Stoneham, starting to run out of money. In fact, it precipitated the great line by then third base coach Joe Amalfitano in 1974 when Patty Hearst was abducted and nobody had any idea as to her whereabouts. Joey said, why don't they check the upper deck? Nobody's been there for 5 years. Clark fouls it away in the count 1-2. But Bob Lurie took over in '76, and back came the franchise and the A's as well under the Haas family. And now the Bay Area, once thought by some to be unable to support two teams, does so now to the tune of next year probably over 5 million people. Will Clark runs into Rick Honeycutt. Joe DiMaggio next to Bobby Brown. And Joe, and you've probably been reading about him with his home in the Marina District, but he is now, we understand, able to move back into it. I'm not sure he is in it, but I know he is able to. The house has been checked.
Will be without natural gas for about 5 months, though. Some of the pipeline's still broken.
Kevin Mitchell takes a strike in the count 0-1. Well, the earthquake, of course, knows no boundaries, and it's brought home when you take a look at that shot of DiMaggio waiting in a line with his neighbors, trying to check his home last week. One and one.
There is a fella in the ballpark tonight, as a matter of fact, who was going to move into his home on the same street on which Joe DiMaggio lives, and that's Bob Welch. He was going to move in November 1st. Cosmetic damage done to his home.
Grounded to Phillips at third. He waits for Blankenship to get over for the force, and the Giants are done in the 8th. On to the 9th, 13-3 in front of Joe D. Now Donnell Nixon, who hit for Butler, spells Brett in center as well, hitting in the 1 spot. Greg Litton, who batted for Robbie Thompson, takes Robbie's spot at second. Hitting in the 2 spot, Kurt Manwaring comes in to catch. Terry Kennedy is done for the night. Kurt hitting in the number 7 spot. And to the 9th inning we go. 13-3 A's. Craig Lefferts delivers to Walt Weiss. Ball 1. 1-0 the count. Weiss hitting for the 5th time in the game, and when you're number 8 hitter comes up 5 times in a game, you know you've had a big night. Dennis Eckersley. Not much to do tonight. No saves on this horizon. 2-1.
Tell you, the more you think about it, when Dave Henderson was hit in the top of the 8th inning, Rick Honeycutt didn't retaliate in the bottom of the 8th inning, and I think that was a very shrewd move. And the reason, I think literally you let sleeping giants lie in this particular instance. I mean, the A's have just blown the Giants out 3 games in a row, and they don't want them to get off the mat.
Nope, not at all. You're exactly right. There's Litton underneath it with Maldonado in the neighborhood. 1 away. Weiss is gone. Blankenship comes up. Roger Craig looking as much like Lyndon Johnson as ever. And we can tell you this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. So this World Series, after the long and unprecedented and tragic, of course, delay, resuming and really picking up where it left off. Domination by the A's. And as life kind of comes back to normal, baseball is back and football played in the Bay Area by the colleges and by the 49ers. I guess we really knew it was back a week after the quake last Tuesday, when a local insert in the morning news show here had as its lead Zsa in her impending sentence. I guess that really brought it back to reality, huh?
Sure did. 3 days in the jail of your choice.
I wonder if they have room service. 2-1.
Yeah, that was her biggest concern. She didn't want to eat fattening food. I wonder if they put stars on their menu. You know, these are the healthy dishes.
A little squiver off to the right of the mound, and it's overrun by Lefferts, and then Clark's sweep nets nothing but air, and Blankenship is aboard again. So Lance, who pinched it in the 8th inning and singled, will not get a base hit this time. They're going to charge Lefferts with an error.
3rd error, and it is a tough play because Blankenship, we've already seen his speed on the bases. Greg Lefferts knows he has to hurry. You see Clark with a abort late tag right here. He's going to take it himself. Doesn't come up with it. Be the 3rd error.
Now Ricky Henderson up for the 6th time in the game. Looks at a strike.
Tell you, if the Giants continue to play like this and the A's continue to play like this, the Athletics are going to be in the driver's seat like Zsa. Also.
All right. And they'll be getting all that new jewelry as well. And the Giants will now be faced with a task that no team has been able to accomplish. Down zip 3 and win the World Series. In fact, win any postseason series, including the playoffs. Strike 1-2. Don Robinson goes to the mound tomorrow. He would have pitched in the original Game 3 the night of the quake. Bob Welch would have pitched in the original Game 3 the night of the quake, and each pushed back. Stays in for Mitchell. Blankenship gets back to first. Henderson hit that one off the end of the bat and still gave it a pretty good ride. 2 down.
Saw that shot of Bob Welch. He was telling us before the game that he and his wife had looked for that house on the same street as Joe DiMaggio for 18 months and had yet to move in it. Closed it, and then the earthquake hit. About 10 days before he was supposed to move in.
Mike Gallego will now pinch hit here in the 9th inning. Gene Nelson in the bullpen. What they did, they moved Javier when he came into the game into the 3 spot. We had assumed they were going to put him in the 2 spot. Normally you take the non-pitcher and move him higher in the order, but they're staying on deck batting in the 3 spot. So Gallego is really hitting for Honeycutt, and we'll see Nelson in the 9th inning. And Gallego fouls it back. And there is Gino, who will finish it up. One and two. Softly to right, gloved by Maldonado, and the Giants come up in the bottom of the 9th, trailing by 10. Candlestick Park, 13-3. How about this game in microcosm? Dave Henderson, Tony Phillips, Jose Canseco, Hindu again, and Carney Lansford. 5 home runs. Dave Stewart, meanwhile, pitches well enough, and the A's are 3 outs away from being 1 game away from their first world title since 1974. Ken Oberkfell is the batter. Funny, the last time a team scored 13 runs in a World Series game, the Cardinals did it against Milwaukee in 1982, and there's the new defensive alignment for Oakland. In that game, in that 13-1 Cardinal win over the Brewers, Oberkfell was a Cardinal. So he's seen it from both ends.
I think that was game 6 in St. Louis. John Stupor, the winning pitcher, and he pitched a complete game with about a 3-hour rain delay in that ball game.
Meanwhile, the Giants on the short end of the biggest run output in World Series history. The Yankees scoring 18 in a game in 36. Yankees got 16 against the Bucks in 60, but of course Mazeroski ended that World Series with a dramatic home run and a Pirate title. 3-1 on Oberkfell. Will Clark, he was 1 for 4 tonight. And a walk to Oberkfell. So Gene Nelson, the 3rd pitcher, and you saw the new defensive alignment with Tony Phillips moving to left, Mike Gallego now at 3rd, and Matt Williams coming to the plate. Giants 3 runs tonight, but only 6 hits, and what that means is the Giants have 15 hits in almost 3 complete games.
2 extra base hits, a homer and a double in 3 games.
0-1 on Williams. Andy Maldonado, and the Giants go home tonight and come back tomorrow, and we'll be with you at 5 o'clock local time, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern for game 4. Shallow left center field. That is Phillips giving way to Hindu, and Dave Henderson makes the catch. Well, you're seeing all that Tony Phillips can do tonight. He even gets into that picture for us, and we talked about him. He's moved from 2nd to 3rd, and there he is in left field with Ricky on the bench for the rest of the night. 1 away. Tony Phillips. What LaRousse is able to do tonight, too, is get everybody some action. Gets Blankenship into the game. Javier. Van Waring takes outside, ball 1.
It's turned into a game like yesterday's game that the A's played against their Winter Instructional League team. Trying to get everybody in the game and get some work.
Little looper to shallow right field, and coming in and not able to make the catch is Javier, as Van Waring almost runs up the back of Oberkfell, who winds up finally at third with Van Waring at second. So a little dunker down the line winds up as a double. That's the Giants' third extra base hit of the World Series. And with runners at second and third, Bill Baith comes up to bat for Lefferts.
And the reason Oberkfell pulls up is because of Javier's excellent speed. He almost makes the play. He's played a lot of center field, a lot of right field when Canseco was injured early in the year with a wrist injury. He almost turned a double into an out. Ken held up, almost got run right by.
Bill Baith, he's the answer to a trivia question. He and a couple of others who have both performed for the A's and the Giants. He was with Oakland in 86 and 39 games. And this year up and down between here and Phoenix.
And Roger Craig really loves his bat. Hurt his shoulder a couple of years ago. Snapped his collarbone in two in winter ball. So throwing has been a problem, but they think he may be starting Giant catcher in 1990.
There's a high drive to deep left field. Tony Phillips goes all the way back, and that one is gone. Stayed with us, you have just watched a little bit of World Series history. 7 home runs in a game.
First World Series at bat for Bill Baith. A 3-run homer, regardless of the score. Feel pretty good about that, huh? First World Series at bat, a 3-run homer.
The next pitch is drilled foul by Maldonado, and the count is 0-1. How many guys have homered in their first World Series at bat? Well, it's happened on 20 occasions. The last time, Canseco, last year when he hit the grand slam against Tim Belcher. Now, meanwhile, of all things, don't ask me why, the lights are out in deep right center field. I don't think that has anything to do with any sort of a tremor or whatever. We've not felt a thing. And in fact, in all of the years I have come to this park, it is not that uncommon to see a light bank go out. So I don't think it's anything necessarily more than some sort of localized problem, but it's enough so that it does change it to the extent that the plate umpire Vic Voltaggio and Roger Craig will get together. And what will they decide to do? And Roger says, okay, let's keep going. We've got enough light. Rogers looking for, though, right now is the light at the end of this tunnel. (13-6) is the score. Well, in a World Series we will never forget, obviously. They're going to wrap this one up without a light bank. 1-1 the count. There it is. Somebody didn't pay the bill. Fouled away. Meanwhile, the crowd in the upper deck in center field, lighting matches, flashlights. A lot of people came with flashlights tonight. 2 the count. Looks like the backdrop for Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star here. And called strike 3. And Maldonado would like to blame it on the lights, but he's blaming it on Voltaggio.
See for yourself, 2-2 pitch. Andy thinks it's low. Vic thinks it's not. They always get the last word. 2 down.
Nixon is at the plate with 2 out in the 9th inning. And time called as somebody throws a ball onto the upper deck. And Weiss makes even that play flawlessly, as the A's have done defensively through the whole series. 1-0 the count.
The only error the A's have made on the first play of the game back in game 1. That was Dave Stewart's throwing error.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm looking at all of these flashlights. It's incredible how many people brought flashlights to the game tonight. I mean, they brought the emergency kit right with them. The ballpark twinkling. And it's grounded into center for a base hit. Nixon with a 2-out single in the 9th inning. And Greg Litton comes to the plate. And Todd Burns throws in the bullpen. And Dave Duncan's going to visit the mound. And actually, it's La Russa who's going to visit the mound after Duncan had started out. Tony says, nope, I'll take care of it, and bring in a reliever. Facing Todd Burns, the A's are an out away from wrapping it up. They lead 13-6. The Giants have Nixon at first base. 2 down. And the pitch away for ball 2. And that's grounded fair down the left field line and into the corner. Nixon heading toward third. Phillips tracking it down in foul territory. Nixon around third. He'll come in to score on a double by Litton. So it is 13-7. And Will Clark comes to the plate.
Litton second base hit. Good hitters count. And you see the first pitch to Clark. It's high. I don't know if they ever came back from 10 runs, but I do know they came back from trailing by 7 and by 9. Giants did.
In the regular season in Cincinnati, in a game in which they'd taken most of the regulars out, they came back and at one point were down 8-0 in that game, and then they erased a 7-run Dodger lead in September as well. Matt Young is in the bullpen.
In that game in Cincinnati, Will Clark was taken out for a rest, and Mike Alaga, a first baseman that is not on the San Francisco roster, figured prominently in that game. Had a game-winning 2-run homer.
And he also had a huge 3-run double off Hershiser in a 3-2 victory in September, and Clark has walked. So, runners at first and second, and this walk in the park has become a little something different for La Russa and Dennis Eckersley. All of a sudden goes to the bullpen, and Dave Duncan goes to the mound. If nothing else, this is not what La Russa wanted to happen, in the sense that if he gets Eckersley up, he wants him to pitch. He doesn't want to waste him throwing on a night when he doesn't pitch. He's real careful about that, but he doesn't have that luxury right now. He's got to get him up. to 7. In the ninth inning, the Giants have hit around. Mitchell 1 for 4 tonight. One and oh. So maybe the Giants have found the secret. Just turn out a bank of lights in center field. They are still without power. 1-1. And it's 1-2. So Burns is within a strike now.
It's a funny thing. We lose power in a night where the most power ever as far as home runs has been exhibited here in a World Series game. 7 home runs in this game, and now the power is coming back sporadically.
1-2 on Mitchell. Breaking pitch lifted to left field, but right toward Phillips, who has to back up, and that's it. So the Giants in the ninth send 9 to the plate, get 4, but come up well short, and the A's are 1 victory away from their first World Championship in 15 years. And the Giants are looking right into the face of a task that no team has been able to accomplish, down 0-3 to come back to win either a World Series or a League Championship Series.